Friends, welcome to this new episode. Today we have 3 cases that will surely leave you more than surprised. In San Clemente del Tuyú, Partido de la Costa, something quite curious happened at a nursery. And you're also going to see a video that shows the exact moment where everything happened. And I would like you to tell me what do you think about it. On the other hand, we have an incident that occurred on a Chaco road where a Falklands War veteran was also involved. And finally, we're going to find out what's happening inside a Carrefour supermarket in San Luis, where paranormal activity is recurrent, it's every day. And where I'm also going to show you a video that captures the exact moment when everything was caught on camera. So, an interesting chapter is coming up. I ask you to sit down and enjoy this chapter to the end and tell me what you think about each of the cases we are going to present today. Remember, you can send your paranormal experience to the WhatsApp number displayed on the screen. Regardless of the number or length of audios, you can include photos, videos, or anything else to make your story as comprehensive as possible. Then I review all the material you send, and if there are any doubts, I will be contacting you. I also ask you to subscribe to my channel, Who Was It? Where? This Sunday, a new season begins with a video that is really unmissable, and the ones to come are also impressive. Anyway, there are more than 40 videos, so go analyze all that there are, because one is more interesting than the other. So stay tuned. This Sunday at 7 in the evening, we have a new case on my channel, Who Was It? And for all those who are asking about the store, stay tuned, because in March it starts again with new products, new designs. There will be promotions, there will be giveaways, surely here and on Instagram, so nothing, stay tuned, I will be announcing, obviously, but know that in March the store starts again. Friends, 1,000 apologies for such a long introduction, and now we start with this new paranormal story. Enjoy it. My name is Thomas, and I'm going to tell you something that happened to me relatively recently, more precisely in January of 2024. It was something that I still don't fully understand. I even struggle to assimilate it, since I'm not a very believing person in paranormal matters. I always try to find an explanation for everything, but that night, and I'm going to show you a video, we didn't know what happened with my family. We have a house in San Clemente del Tuyú, so there were a lot of trips. My summers were always entirely in that town, and I made a lot of friends, which I still have to this day. And this thing that happened to me was when I was with several people. One night, we had gone out and we were heading to one of my friend's house. And to get there, we always took the same route, passing by the famous San Clemente nursery. And I would like to make a parenthesis to clarify some issues. First of all, we hadn't taken anything at all, so we were lucid and well awake. And another important point is that I know the nursery area from end to end. I visited it alone, with family, with friends, on multiple occasions and even at night, and never ever saw or experienced anything. Yes, I knew different stories that are told, but being a skeptical person, I let them pass without giving them importance. But in this case, it was impossible to do so. The issue was that we took the nursery road not out of preference, but out of convenience, to shorten the journey a bit. It's rather dark. For those who don't know it, there's absolutely nothing, but I repeat, it's a quiet place and familiar to me forever.
In the distance, I see a bag thrown on the floor. In the distance, we saw something white lying in the middle of the street. As we approached, it became clearer. I tell my friend, "Do you see to throw the high beams a bag?" And every time, the high beams, and when I see like this, it wasn't a bag, it was a nightgown, because the bag started to rise, until I knew it was a bag. I thought it was a bag, it was a white bag from the bread bag. Well, as we approached, I noticed the bag began to rise with each step. I realized this is not a bag. And I clearly saw with my eyes that it was a nightgown, it was a shirt, it was a nightgown, like a lady's, And it started to float, and we had it right in front of my eyes. Look, I tell you this and it gives me goosebumps.
Just as it started, this nightgown continued to rise, it stayed suspended for a few seconds in place. It first went to one side, then it seemed to go forward and then to the other side, to our left. At that precise moment I managed to film it, even if just a little, with my friend's phone that was at hand. Thank you. Thanks to everyone.
Send it all the way. Send it, stop, send it.
What's happening?
The strangest thing to me was that it was dawn, and I usually always thinking differently. I have other thoughts. I said, no, someone is messing with us here. Look there, someone is messing with us. And the truth is that there was no one. We stayed there, honked the horn. We stayed there until we left. There was no one.
We stood exactly where this was, looking for some sign to explain what had happened. The reality is that we were looking for a person who was probably playing a prank on us. But going back to this place, it would be totally illogical for someone to be there waiting all night for a car to pass. Being a place where it is normal for there to be zero car or people traffic at night. So, is it possible for someone to set up a scene like this almost certain that no one will show up? It's possible, but I doubt it. This was precisely the most impressive thing. We searched and found nothing, and to make sure we went back but in the opposite direction, and indeed the area was empty. Needless to say, we also looked for some thread, cable or line that could have moved this nightgown through the air, but we found nothing either. It was the only time something happened in this place, the only time I witnessed something like this that I can't explain in any way. And the truth is, if I hadn't filmed it today, I would be doubting what we saw. Because beyond everything, there's a part of me that refuses to believe that something like this is possible. I would like to know, of course, what people think. And I would like to know if anyone from San Clemente saw something similar or something happened to them in the nursery area. My name is Diego, I'm from the province of Chaco, and I would like to tell you something that happened with a friend. A veteran of the Falklands War who recently passed away. And there was a moment that is as curious and confusing as it is incredible. This that I'm going to tell you happened on Route 90, and I want to highlight something very, very important. This friend who passed away had a grey car, I'm not going to specify the brand. And on the back, precisely on the rear window, he had a Malvinas sticker stuck on, specially made for him. Something very important in this story, and now you're going to understand why. Another friend, named Carlos, also a veteran, had been doing a series of procedures exactly on the morning of February 7th in the capital of Chaco, Resistencia. And having finished everything, he returns to General José de San Martín, where he lives with his wife and children. The distance between these two cities is roughly 74.564 miles. And so it was that, while they were on their way back, already on Route 90, something unexpected happened that only came to light much later. It was that everything ended in a very strange way.
Reaching a certain sector of this route, let's say, before reaching Edwiges, there is a colony there that is called Edwiges. They spot a vehicle, a Fiat with the Malvinas logo. And it was my friend's car, our deceased friend's car. We must remember that he left 6 children and the children know how to drive the vehicle. The lady didn't, but she did say it.
Seeing a friend's car, he imagined that surely one of his children was using their father's car. So Carlos flashed his lights at him repeatedly, but there was no response. Then he passes him, and at that moment he asks his wife to see who is driving, because the car was without a doubt our friend's. The color, model, license plate, and the distinct rear window sticker made it recognizable. When they pass by the side, they can't see anything because the windows were closed, and being tinted, they completely blocked the view inside. So they honked at him and continued on their way, thinking that it was possibly one of the sons who had not recognized them. And the day went on as normal. About a week after this incident, Carlos ran into one of the sons of our deceased friend downtown. He was shopping with his wife and children. He greeted him, they chatted for a few minutes, and it was a cold shower when he asked about the father's car and who was using it. Because they had crossed paths on the road 90 days ago and didn't get to see who was driving. This man told him it was impossible because the car had been stored in the garage at home since his father's death. He was the last to drive it and had total control over the car as no one else used it, and he specifically had the keys. He told him over and over again when they had seen him how he had flashed his lights at him and there was no response. They all froze. And again, I want to repeat that the car is unmistakable because of its color, model, and license plate, which my friend Carlos knows perfectly well. And finally, that sticker on the rear window, which is really unique. What then happened, and why was the car seen on the road? A car that never left the garage, but that afternoon it was rolling as if nothing had happened. My husband has been working for many years at a supermarket in the province of San Luis where we live. A place where paranormal things have always happened. But there is specifically one event that is impressive and that had never been captured before. And that's why, beyond telling you a little about everything that happens and the exact moment, I'm going to show you a video that reaffirms all of this. This Carrefour supermarket for some time now has been open 24 hours a day. There are times when there is obviously more movement, but on the other hand, during the early morning and even part of the early morning, it tends to be extremely quiet. And no one ever imagined what would happen. The boy we're going to see in the following video is my husband's colleague. He was working in the bakery one Sunday, and around 7 in the morning he began to notice certain things that caught his attention. Details that were usual, but at that moment became much more noticeable.
He was working in the part of the bakery, in the storage room, and he hears noises. He thought that because they work opportune in pairs, one in the part of the butcher shop, another in the part of the bakery. And he starts to hear noises like bags or things being moved. So he leaves and comes back several times, but he doesn't see anyone. So he thought it was his friend playing a prank on him. Since it was a more relaxed Sunday, fewer people around, it was 7 in the morning, and he feels like someone threw a fountain to the floor. So he turns around and
he finds himself on a staircase that leads to another area with a little girl. She was hiding underneath, slightly crouched while watching him. He approached her, asked who she was with because she couldn't be there. It was dangerous. Keep in mind that no one other than the staff themselves can access the storage area. She was a completely normal little girl, about 5 years old, with brown straight hair, dressed like any other. Nothing drew attention. She just looked at him and said with a scared little face, "My dad, my dad, my dad." So he interpreted that her dad was shopping in the salon, and in a moment of carelessness, his daughter went into the storage room. He took her by the hand and told her to stay calm, not to be scared, and that they were going to find her dad right away. They left the storage room, walked through the salon, down one of the corridors, and always holding her hand. Will you see it in the video? Meanwhile, he was talking to her, asking her where she was from, if she remembered where her dad was, what his name was, but she didn't answer him. She just kept saying, "My dad, my dad." At one point, he was about to turn into another aisle, and this little girl lets go of his hand and runs off. He tries to follow her and loses sight of her in a very strange way. He didn't know where she had gone. He called her, he looked for her, but he never found her.
And he was very worried because he says, "Poor girl, did she find her dad?" So he went to the checkout line to ask if they had found the girl, her dad, if they had found each other. Finally, because it was very early, it was 7:45 in the morning and, well, it was almost 8. But he didn't know if the girl had gone back to her dad, so he went to find out. And the security person who is ahead at the door, he noticed that at that moment no one had come in with a girl. All the people who had entered were young, who were from the early hours of Saturday. Older people perhaps who were shopping, but no one had come in with a girl. So he told her, no one has entered the room with any girl. What are you talking about? Then she asked to see the cameras. She goes to the part of the people who do the surveillance with the cameras. She is on the upper floor, so from above they started to watch the cameras, which first focus on the part of the deposit. Because he was very upset, he didn't know what had happened to the girl, and, well, he was worried. When they show him the cameras, they see that at no time had he been talking to any girl in the deposit. He was simply talking alone. You can see that now. I'm going to play a video that was recorded by some cameras that day. And, well, you can see him extending his hand to get her out from under the stairs. Then he takes her. He's talking to her. Supposedly, he says, they asked her, well, what's your dad like? Let's go find your dad. Stay calm. He was talking about this and that, very hand in hand, and even in the hall. Then they bring the cameras closer. At no point is he seen with a girl. If he's observed, he is leading someone as if he were holding their hand. But in reality, he is alone all the time and talking to himself. On another occasion, he had shown up when the supermarket was open until 10 at night, nothing more, and closed its doors until the next day. There was a watchman, a security guard, whom the same girl had already seen. Or is it always a girl who appears, according to the comments from the old colleagues? So what had happened to this security person? That today, because not everyone can handle the idea of having spoken with a spirit, with a soul or something, this person who worked at night resigns because this girl who appeared seems to be apparently the same girl. He was working at night when the supermarket closed its doors at 10 at night, and around 2:30, 1. They feel like they're throwing things off the shelves at him when it's not him. I don't know, a package of noodles. They're throwing different products at him and he's among the shelves arranging the products because they must have arranged the repositories very tightly. I don't know. The thing is that one always looks for an excuse at a given moment. Then she begins to sense distant whistling. She thought at that moment about how there was a silence in the room, that it was about people who were in the square in front. When the silence was so profound, it seemed like it could be heard in the room. That's what she thought. And little by little, the whistle got closer and closer, closer and closer to where she was. And when she wanted to see, they touched her from behind. She had the handy with which she knew how to communicate, and, well, nothing. From there, she was left in shock. And because on top of that, she worked at night alone without anyone. Even though she would turn on the radio to distract herself, she was always drawing attention in some way, moving things around in the supermarket. The person ended up quitting, and, well, apparently this girl shows up every now and then.
Friends, thank you very much for making it to the end. I would love to know what you think about these 3 stories, about the videos presented as well, and if something similar has ever happened to you. See you in a few days with more episodes, and now I really send a big hug to all of you.